Okay, so this movie is about inverses. So let's talk first what the heck inverses are. So you already know what they are, you just may not know that you know. They're things that undo each other, right? And I have a list here, right? So if I asked you to think of your exact favorite number, right? And then I said, hey, add 10 to your number and then subtract 10, you would get right back to your number because the addition and the subtraction undo each other. All right, same thing with multiplication and division, same thing with squaring and square rooting. And what we're gonna do though is we're gonna find the inverse of a function. All right, so a function has sort of an input and an output, and inverses will undo that. All right, so first thing before we even find them though, we need to talk about some notation. All right, so you know this notation for sure, right? You know that that means something is a function. All right, this notation, okay, which has literally just a little raised to the -1 notation in it, all it means is that it's the inverse, right? It is the inverse of this original function. It does not automatically mean that it's a function as well. All right, so let's take a look. And there's 2 different ways to do it. I don't really care which of these 2 ways you use, but I will show you both. The first way, and I would tend to call this sort of the algebra way. All right, so all you have to do is interchange the x and the y and solve for y, and then you will have the inverse. That's sort of the algebra way. The other way is sort of more like intuitive. It's like, let's see what's been done, and then let's undo it. Okay, so again, I have 2 examples for you, and I'm gonna do them both ways. Okay, so if I'm trying to find the inverse of f of x equals 3x plus 6, the first way is to do this algebraically. So I'm going to change the x and the y. So originally it looked like this, right? That's the original. And then I'm going to switch the x and the y. And then I'm going to solve for y. Okay, so to solve this equation for y, I have to subtract 6 from both sides and divide both sides by 3. And then here's kind of the most important part is I have to use the correct notation. Okay, so I have now found the inverse. It is right here. It is x minus 6 over 3. Okay, so that's one way. That's the algebraic way to do it. Okay, the other way though is sort of, let's take a look at this function and ask ourselves, what does this function actually do to a number, right? If you thought of your favorite number and you plugged it in here, what does this function do to it? Well, the first thing it does is it multiplies it by 3, right? And then the second thing it does is it adds 6, right? So like my favorite number is 51. So if I plugged 51 in here, first I would multiply it by 3 and then I would add 6. Okay, but inverses, right? That's what we're trying to find. Inverses don't do things. Inverses undo things. Okay, so let's see how I would undo this list. I would take my favorite number. If I want to undo adding 6, I would subtract 6, right? I'm undoing it. And then if I keep going up this list and I want to undo multiplying by 3, that would be dividing by 3. Okay, so again, notice you get the exact same answer either way. I don't care which way you do it as long as you can do it. Okay, so here's another example. Okay, so I'm going to do this again. I'll do it both ways. Okay, so first way is let's change the x and the y. So f of x is pretty much a y. We're going to change that to an x. And then that x that's up on the top, I'm going to change it into a y. And now I'm trying to solve, I'm solving this for y. So I multiply both sides by 8. And then add 4 to both sides. And this should be the inverse of the original. Okay, so now let's do this the other way. Okay, so again, that's sort of just asking yourself, what does this do to a number? If I plug a number in there, the first thing I would do would be to subtract 4. The second thing I would do would be to divide by 8. All right, so if I want to find the inverse all I have to do is undo this stuff. So I take my favorite number, I undo dividing by 8, which is multiplying by 8, and then I undo subtracting 4 by adding 4. And you'll notice you get the exact same answer either way.